Hey, what's up guys, it's Greg, and I'm back with my next video in my video series. In my last video we talked about the first seizures that I ever experienced and going back to St. Louis to try to treat them. In this video we'll be continuing along on that story and discussing our next steps. I'm still in St. Louis. We felt like probably wasn't a good thing for me to go back to Kansas City until we have more information. Maureen did go back because she had to work. But about 2 weeks later, I was sleeping in my parents' basement. That's where we had our bedroom set up. And I know we should not have been set up like this. I should have been sleeping closer to the people living in the house, my parents. But I wasn't, and that came back to bite us because, later on, again, like I said, 1 to 2 weeks later, went to bed around 10 and woke up in the middle of the night moaning in pain after having another seizure. The problem was I was in the basement by myself. I just remember waking up. I think it was actually my moaning. I was moaning loud enough that's what woke me up, that and the pain. And I don't know how long I laid there, but eventually I figured out that I had another seizure and, something was really wrong. Unfortunately, I couldn't move. I was laying on the bed, like I was sleeping, and I couldn't figure out, at least, then, I couldn't figure out how to get to my phone, and I couldn't figure out how to get off the bed because my brain is, resetting, and there are certain things that you just can't do depending on, the type of seizure. So I remember I must have just fallen back asleep or passed out, and I woke up around probably 5 a.m. At this point, I could move. I was able to get up, sort of. I dragged myself upstairs to our living room, and I waited for my dad to come down, around 5:30 or so as he was getting ready to go to work. And I told him that I've had a seizure and I need to be going to the ER, and that's what we did. My mom drove me, shortly afterwards. Maureen started hightailing it across the state back to St. Louis. At this point, we're thinking, something is really wrong. We don't know where these seizures are coming from. They're very significant in the impact that they're having on my body. And this second seizure that I had was the first of many seizures that I dislocated my shoulder. This may sound rather brutal, but the seizures were so intense that my right arm during the seizure would pop out of the socket, and then I was seizing, so intensely and so long that it would actually pop back in to place, which, is better than leaving it dislocated, but as it's doing this, it's shaving down the bone that it's attached to. So there'll be some long-term consequences of this. I'll get to that in other videos, but that's really, I was in a lot of pain from that. So I'm in the ER. They're doing some imaging on my shoulder to figure out, what happened there, because it's, extreme pain. The rest of my body is essentially just spazzing out, like muscle spasms, from all the convulsing. So, they get me to the ER, they put me on some pain medication, and I start feeling better, as I start to come out of this second seizure. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can go home, and, maybe this is, what we need to finally start being treated for epilepsy. But unfortunately, I'm sitting in the ER, and I proceeded to have probably one of the worst seizures I have ever had. I remember really well how the onset happened. I was sitting in the bed, but propped up like a lot of hospital beds, and they were bringing in lunch to me, and I remember seeing the plate of chicken strips coming into the room, and the lights start to dim. I get a deja vu feeling, and I remember going back, falling back into the bed, and that's all I remember. You know, I can only go by what, you know, Maureen told me happened, but it was a severe, very severe seizure. The time period, you know, coming out of that seizure, I wasn't able to really get out of it. Even though the seizure had stopped, I don't know if it was because my body was just through physically from the cancer treatment, and then these, you know, very violent seizures that I was having. I couldn't comprehend anything. I don't remember anything from that day, other than just images of people, you know, some, you know, people's voices I heard. But from everything my family told me was that it was, you know, that I basically was just, you know, kind of in this panic attack for the rest of the day. Part of that was probably just because of the extreme pain. And this was another, you know, the feelings of pain. This is one of those situations that stays with you forever because your entire body is just like in this shock from all the pain. I'll never forget that. You know, and so, you know, apparently, you know, you know, it was really hard to get the pain under control that day. And, you know, so they're ramping up, you know, the pain meds. I think we started with morphine, and then we moved up to something stronger called Dilaudid or hydromorphine. And that wasn't working. So eventually they went for the big guns and used fentanyl. Those of you that don't know about fentanyl, it's like up to 100 times more powerful than morphine. So that just gives you a little bit of idea of the type of pain medication I was on. After I had that seizure and you know, they were trying to treat me for the pain, they actually transferred me down to the main hospital, the main hub downtown. And there they have, you know, all the neurology equipment, all the things to help diagnose somebody. And so I was taken there. We're going to leave off here today. This was a rather intense video. I know it may be difficult to watch or to hear some of these things, and it's certainly been difficult for me to film it. But, you know, I think it's important to kind of revisit some of these things. So in my next video, we'll kind of go on to the next steps in trying to troubleshoot these seizures and starting medication for these seizures. So questions, comments, put them in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.